What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the Joel Friday TV podcast. I am Joel Friday. Bienvenido. Welcome to the show. We are live on YouTube and on Instagram. Amazing stuff. Do me a favor, hit that like button, smack it, lay the smack down on the like, subscribe, and share button. Tell your peoples about the show so we get the subscribers up and the message out. Do it now. Help a brother out. Much appreciated. As you guys know, it is a talk show, so you can call in at any point during the show. 888-775-3773, 888-775-3773, and we could talk about whatever you want. The lines are open. We got a caller on the line as well. Give me a second, caller. Amazing stuff. If for whatever reason you can't call in, but you still have a question or comment, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JoelFridayTV. Send your question or comment there, or go directly to YouTube and hit the super chat button. You can also send your question or comments there. I will read them live on air. Or if you just want to support the show, that's greatly appreciated as well. And right now, already, we got a super chat out the gate by Moon Cricket Stinks. Joel, did you hear marriage is white supremacy now? I didn't hear that. But anything traditional is, or anything that is of the light is credited to the whites, which oftentimes they're the ones that carry it the most. So it's a compliment to those whites who believe in traditional values. So I'm not surprised. Thank you, Moon Cricket Stinks. It's getting crazy, but it's all part of the process, all part of the plan. Like Frederick says, God's plan, right? Shout out to Frederick. Amazing stuff. I have some things I want to get into with you guys today. But I'm debating on, you know what? Let me get to the message real quick, and then callers, hold for a second. I will get to you. There are lines open, guys. Get in now, so that way, well, I guess you can wait till I start the message. Kind of makes more sense. But amazing stuff. Shout out to the mod squad holding it down. Snake Pit in the chat. Lions Den on IG. Lions Den. Amazing stuff. Shout out to the mods. Zenny said, Joel about to mislead thousands again. And by the way, I got to correct Zenny, because Zenny said on one of the comments that I said to be like the Joker. I never said to be like the Joker, Zenny. You weren't listening. I said be like Bruce Wayne, Batman. So thank you. Anyway, back to the topic. I want to make a disclaimer really quick. A disclaimer. Not that anybody cares, and not that anybody was even doing this, but I just had to say it anyway. Is that everything I say, I know sometimes can be seem or sound contradictory to maybe the Bible or to morals and values. It may sound and seem contradictory, or it may sound like, I don't know, maybe blasphemous. I don't know. Or it may sound true, right? But one thing I want to say is that if it makes you at any point doubt your own belief or doubt yourself or make you wrestle with it, then let it go, right? Don't wrestle with it. If it makes you doubt yourself, go with what you believe and let it clear itself up if it needs to. You know what I mean? Because the only reason why I say that is because I remember that I would try to always, I would watch videos and, listen to different pastors, and and I would like hear the things that they say, and I wouldn't always agree, but then I would wrestle with it, and then it would like stop me from living my life, right? It would be in the back of my head what they said, and then it would like affect me negatively. And I'm like, oh shoot, well that one person said that I shouldn't do this. So I'm like, and then I would wrestle with it. And never, ever, 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 ever do that, because you want it to be understood. So if it makes you doubt yourself, ignore it. Let it go. One ear and out the other. Let it be. But if it makes sense for you in that moment, then, and of course, you just run with it. So I just wanted to say that. Know for yourself, know for yourself, know for yourself. But, because I'm about to say some stuff again today. You know me, I got to get into my mess. But I wanted to say, how's the audio, guys? Is the audio good? Press 1 if the audio is good. Press 2 if it's not good. Let me know if the audio is good. Just checking the audio real quick. King Wesley on IG says 1. He's saying that the audio is good. Appreciate it, King Wesley. People on IG saying 1, 1, 1. Nice. Okay, I'm getting ones. Cool. All right. So listen to this, guys. Just think about this. The only reason, because you guys hear my title today, my topic today is right and wrong is a trap, right? And I want us to just like think about this. Like, go on the journey with me if you can. Tom Bell already says you're wrong, bro. Think about like the only reason why hate or anger or resentment exist. Let's examine that. Why does hate or anger and resentment exist? Just think about it. The only reason why those things exist in anybody is identifying with right or wrong. Just think about it. That's the only way hate or anger and resentment or any of that exist, is because you first have to identify with right or wrong. And when you identify with one or the other, you make a judgment. And when you make that judgment, you have that feeling, right? That feeling of hate or resentment or whatever. But it first begins off with identifying with something. You know what I mean? This is why kids oftentimes do so well as a child, and they're so innocent, is because they don't identify with anything. They don't see evil as evil. They don't see good as good. They don't identify with nothing. It only changes when they're forced to identify with something, right? To point at something that's bad, to point at something that's good. And where does that come from? Oftentimes from teachings of the world. Or Satan that's constantly in the mind telling the child, like, look what your mom's doing to you. Look what you know what I mean? But it has to be based off of an opinion of right and wrong. And I was thinking also that we should just be living, not concerned of what we should or shouldn't do, what we can or can't do, what is off limits, what is on limits, right? And most people will be like, Joel, are you giving people the pass to do whatever they want? To go kill? I disavow YouTube. To go kill, to go steal, to do it. Are you giving people the pass? Are you saying that they should just do what they want? No. Because if anybody understands what I'm saying about identifying with right and wrong, they would realize the only reason why people kill, steal, lie, cheat is because of identifying with right or wrong, right? That judgment that created the feeling, and that feeling that created the conflict, and the conflict that causes you to do these things. So if nobody identified, and this is just my opinion, if nobody identified with right or wrong, right, then they would go through the process of life. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't make the mistake, but in their mistakes, they will realize and understand what those things truly mean instead of just judging them as right or wrong. So, moving on a little bit on that is, think about this. Well, what is exactly hate? What is it? Like, what, that feeling, what it is. Think about it this. Just entertain this, like, I guess it's a metaphor. I don't know. This concept. Hate is just right identifying. Hate is just identifying with right and seeking revenge on wrong. That's all it is, in my opinion. Right taking revenge on wrong, right? And, or reverse it. Wrong seeking revenge on right. Either way, somebody identifying with something and wanting revenge on the other thing because the other thing made them feel bad, made them feel like a bad person. So hate is just revenge. Anger is just revenge. Resentment is just revenge. You want somebody to hurt just like you've been hurt. You want them to hurt because they hurt you or whatever, right? It's just revenge. And the only reason why you want revenge is because you look at what they did to you as bad. You're identifying with good. You were the good person. And what they did to you was bad. You didn't deserve it because you're good and they're bad. It's identity. That's it. It's all identity. TV, with the super chat says, comes from right or wrong, but also comparing. I'm not quite sure what you mean. Comes from right and wrong, but also, comparing. But that's the same thing. Comparing is right and wrong, right? Comparing is saying that this person looks, I'll give an example, like you're looking at somebody's lifestyle on Instagram. You're looking at them having all this money, fame, things, right? Vacations. You're looking at their life and identifying with their life as good and your life as bad, right? That's another identity. You're identifying with a pretty girl on the street, and this is the one that we all do. Well, I do. Pretty girl on the street, right? What does the mind say? The mind says she's pretty. I want her, or she might be the one, or whatever, right? That's an identity of me thinking that that's good, or that's right, or I want that. It's all identity. It's all an identity. And like I was talking about yesterday, is that we should just learn what love is and be led with love. Led by love. Right? Because right and wrong we've been taught so wrong. We've been taught so wrong about a right and wrong and good and evil. We have been taught, not that it doesn't exist, but we've been taught the power, the false power that these things have. You know what I mean? Like, imagine a young child going to a jail cell and seeing Jeffrey Dahmer and all his buddies, right? Is the child gonna run away from Jeffrey Dahmer, not knowing anything about Jeffrey Dahmer, not knowing what he's been through, not knowing any of that? Is the child gonna run away? No. If Jeffrey Dahmer is nice to the child and Jeffrey Dahmer is friendly, then the child is going to gravitate to Jeffrey Dahmer, period. Period. Not knowing the history. And in that moment, it's because the child doesn't know. In that moment, all the child knows is that in this moment, this person is, friendly or whatever the case is. And they're operating from a place of openness, for one, but love, acceptance, right? And that's how we're supposed to always be, even though we know what we know. And we don't even really know what we think we know. What a mess. We don't even really know what we think we know. Like, Jeffrey Dahmer is a bad person, but I'm going to be a Christian and try not to judge him because I shouldn't judge him, but I know he's a bad person. Well, how do we know that? What indicates to us that Jeffrey Dahmer is a bad person? And it also says in the Bible, what does it say? That it is only up to the, I'm paraphrasing, it is only up to the master that decides if the slave shall stand or fall. Something like that. And Vitaman says the tree by its fruits. You judge a tree by its fruits, right? Even if it has bad fruit, the child is still gonna love the bad fruit. Because love is not like a decision of, I'm avoiding that because that's wrong. It's not that. It's just, I don't even know how to explain it. So I'm not even gonna try to make sense of that, because I don't want to say the wrong thing about it. So you just gotta know. You just gotta know what that means. But I do know is that love just guides you in the moment. And it doesn't judge. And it keeps no records of right and wrong. And it's not looking at whether or not a person is deserving of it or not. And it's not, it's none of that. It's not even trying to, love is also not trying to not judge either. You got to just be it. And until we are it, we just got to watch ourselves and recognize that we're just not of it yet, right? We don't got to try to make ourselves of it. We don't got to try to convince ourselves that it's bad to judge, so I shouldn't judge. And you're right, you should love, so I'm going to go and start loving people today. Can't even do that. We just have to allow God to renew our minds and change us from within. And until that happens, we just have to watch the process. I don't know, I feel like I'm saying a lot of confusing things, but it makes sense to me. C-Sal says, discernment is the Holy Spirit guiding us. Yes. 100%. And the Holy Spirit will guide us. And discernment as well is not judgment. Like, you can see that something is like, let's just say you see somebody kill somebody. No, you see somebody like going off on somebody in the street, road rage. Cause I do that in LA. They'll like put their hand on the horn for like 5 minutes straight. And it'll be over like the littlest thing, right? But we use that as an example. You can see that person is like overreacting, right? But the judgment part of it that comes in that makes us be like, what the heck? He's overreacting, or makes us overreact to the overreaction is not discernment, but it's disguised as discernment. So we got to pay attention to that too. But anyway, I just wanted to say that hate and resentment is just identifying as right and seeking revenge on wrong. That's it. It's just identifying with right and wrong. If nobody identified with right and wrong, then you would never have anger, hate, or resentment. And that's why it's also when you realize that is why you go forgive, right? It is why you go forgive is because you realize that you were just identifying with something and that person is also identifying with something. But you got to know that you know that you know these type of things. Chris said, I got fired from my job. I got discernment. Oh, that's discernment. You ain't earning nothing no more. Let me see. Ivy says, it's work not to have an opinion. Yeah. That's why I say that if we don't have it, we shouldn't try to have it. Just recognize we don't have it and let it become of us. Let it become of us. CJ says, we think we know, but we have no idea. Right. Until we become it, we really don't know. Did y'all send Sean back to New England because he's a flat earther? He's on his way back. He's on his way. Anyway, let me check. I think I got another super chat here. TV goes on to say, so where does discernment come from? Oh, okay. Discernment. I think I answered that, but discernment Cecil answered that really comes from the Holy Spirit, right? But the Holy Spirit, you ever notice that when you are operating out of the light, let's just say like the Holy Spirit, you're connected, right? And then you're speaking through it, that in that moment, you're not judging, you're not looking down on the person, right? Like when you get a revelation, like everything makes sense, you have joy, you feel life, you feel those things. And there's nothing, like you're not even concerned with negativity, right? You're just in the positive in the sense of like, I don't even know how to explain it, y'all. And I'm sounding like a hippie trying to make sense of it. But discernment is of the Holy Spirit, for sure. But the Holy Spirit does not make decisions. It does not say this person is right or wrong. I'm right, I'm wrong. I'm good, I'm bad. It just is. It just is, and it just flows. So that's all I can say about that. Anything else, I'm like getting hippy dippy. But I do have another story that I'm going to get to in a second, but I'm going to get to some calls because we got some people on the line, 888-775-3773, and they want to get in on this, and I want to hear what they have to say. Let me just make sure, checking these super chats here. I think we're good. Okay, let me get to where am I at here? Let me get to Terry out of Oregon. Terry, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hi, Joel. How you doing?
How you doing, Terry?
All is well.
Nice.
So, when you were talking, I kind of had thought about my own experience with discernment kind of coming on me over time and how my nature changed.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to watch it happen over time and how I think what I would say is the Holy Spirit comes to dwell in us.
Yeah.
Because, I think we all have things that we've struggled with, and I don't want to get into, things that I've dealt with in my life that I knew were wrong, that I judged and would judge in other people, but that I still struggled with myself.
Yeah.
But it was once I realized that I was not fit to judge, for one.
And how did you realize that? How did you realize that? How did you come to realize that you weren't fit to judge?
I took stock. I was like looking at myself. I'm like, I'm wicked. I'm full of evil. I kind of saw it clearly in a way that I hadn't seen it before because I'd been blinded by my own judgment, thinking that I knew the difference between right and wrong. And I kind of, once I got out of that and saw for myself that I think too, over time in life, you see the fruit of how you're living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're not bearing good fruit in your life, you have to take stock.
Yeah, and I find that too is that there's times where I thought I was like on this right track and doing these right things and all these things, but then also realizing that or having a moment of realization that, well, wow, this thing that I just did now doesn't reflect this idea of me being good or bad. So then I start to realize, wow, I'm capable of doing wrong as well. But then I'm also starting to realize that I don't even know if we should even identify with the evil thing as well. You know what I mean? Like even saying that we are evil.
Yeah.
I think that we do things that may not reflect, things that are productive to our lives, but I don't even know if we should call them evil either. It's kind of just life to me, but what do you think?
Well, I think it's important not to speak evil over ourselves. For one, I think, that's important that we speak blessings into our life and understand the power of our words.
Right.
But I also think there are times where we just have to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
Too. Where, I don't see in my life day to day now, I don't go around thinking I'm evil. But I did have kind of an awakening spiritually at a point in my life where I kind of sat down and realized that I was being controlled by evil.
Right. And you can recognize.
And I wasn't in control. Yeah, I realized that this idea that I was in control was false.
Yeah.
And that I was letting myself be led by evil spirit, and when I look at other people now, I try to, and this is just why I love Jesse so much, and what attracted me to Bond and to all of you, listening to all of you, it's the fact that he talks about the spirit within us and what's driving us. And I don't think a lot of people really recognize that we let ourselves get taken over by spirits and that, we're either being led by the Holy Spirit or by Satan's army.
No, I agree. And I think that I totally agree. I think we're either being led by one or the other. I think that the reason though, I think that sometimes we struggle more, and I want to hear what you think about this. I think that we struggle more with trying to avoid it, but I think it's because if we realize that it's because we lack understanding or insight on what these things mean, is why we struggle with them. But if we knew what they meant, then we would be able to walk in them. So I think we need to stop beating ourselves up over things that we can't control just simply because we don't know what they really mean, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, in my personal experience, I had this experience with, I guess, the indwelling sin that I dealt with my whole life.
Right.
And even after I was like, saved and, trying to walk the straight and narrow again, I noticed myself like still falling into this sin.
Yeah.
And it just, I once I started to notice it and not judge it is when it started to like fall away from me, like the desire for it.
Yeah.
So that really does work when you sit and you notice, but you don't judge and you just watch.
Right.
You really do kind of get this clarity about it. And, now to me, it's like, it's not an issue anymore.
Yeah.
Like this thing that I've struggled with for so many years, it's like gone.
Yeah.
And not there tempting me anymore.
And and if you can remember what exactly, how exactly was that process of it falling away by you watching it? Like you just understood what it really meant, or you just watched it and then you just stopped giving it attention? Like, what do you mean it fell away?
Well, I mean, it's happened with a few different things, so maybe it's different between each one. I just started to notice it come upon. I noticed it was like a temptation that came from outside of me.
Yeah.
And that kind of took its power away.
By watching it?
Yeah, just watching it and like not like freaking out that I'd like stumbled or whatever, but like just observing like, okay, what happened here?
Right.
Why did this happen? And then starting to kind of realize that, I mean, it was over time. I'm thinking there's probably prayer involved too, and I think recognizing something for what it was as well. That like sin itself. Sometimes I struggled with understanding why something was sinful, and there have been certain sins that I guess I've been guilty of in the past that I just needed to understand for myself what was wrong.
Right.
And sometimes you just have to experience something to know.
Yeah, what the truth about it. I agree.
Honestly, I'll just say to clarify, sometimes just doing what God says and not thinking about it is probably the best option for those listening.
What do you mean?
I don't want to recommend experience to everyone. Sometimes
I see. You
know something's wrong, like you may be tempted, but like don't fall into it because you think you're going to get some kind of experiential knowledge and understand.
I see.
Sometimes it's good to remain ignorant and just do what God's commanding you.
And leave it be, just be obedient.
And let him, because with obedience, then in time you'll understand because God will be revealed to you.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that, Terry. Thanks for giving your perspective on it, but also sharing, the stuff that you dealt with in the past. I appreciate it, and keep killing it in the chat, in the snake pit.
I'll do my best.
I'll do my best. All right, have a good one.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. Nice. I'm gonna get back to the calls right now. Caller, just hold on for a second. Lines are open. 888-775-3773. 888-775-3773. I was gonna say something. Yeah, at the end of the day, do what you believe in. I remember I used to talk to my uncle about the things that I talk about today on my show, and he would tell me some of these things, and I used to be like, "What the? What are you talking about? You know, that's crazy. I don't believe it." But I never wrestled with it because I had once wrestled with it in the past, right? And it didn't do me any good. But eventually, some things I came to realize that he was right about. And, you know, and some things I realized that I still disagree about. So, you know, believe what you believe. If believing a certain thing is getting you through and making sense for you and you have confidence in it, let that be, right? Of course, we want to be open at all times. We don't want to be so locked in and grounded on a belief. We always want, because you never know, we could be wrong. But we shouldn't have to wrestle with what other people say because that's only going to bring you conflict. So you may not agree with the things I'm saying. I believe it to be true, and I just stand on it, and because I believe it to be true. And I know there's people in the chat and some of my peers, they'll disagree and say like, you know, why do you believe that? Or I believe that. And, you know, that's fine. And I don't let it bother me because this is just what I believe. And if I'm wrong, I'll just come to see that. You know what I mean? I rather walk in firm confidence in what I believe to be true than walk around doubting if I'm right or if I'm wrong, or maybe I said this, maybe I said that. You know what I mean? So one ear and out the other. Let me go to JC at Little Rock, Arkansas, also known as Arkansas. Hey, JC, welcome to the show.
Da 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 da. Hello, Joel. How are you doing?
All is well. How's it going, JC?
I'm doing quite well, quite well.
Nice.
I forgot to give a shout out to Nada the other day, so shout out to Nada.
Shout out Nada.
To Tony, I miss Tony. He ain't called since you guest hosted for Hate, so I miss him. I hope he calls back on the shows more. He was one of my favorites.
Maybe he's doing a silent prayer.
Man, the silent prayer. My goodness. Okay, so my topics, I was going to answer your question about what's it feel like to say I'm a feminist, and then my next topic sort of goes in with your show today, so that much relates. But last week, what it feels like to say I'm a feminist, it feels beautiful. It feels beautiful to always say that I stand for women's equality, standing for women's choices. I stand for basically every right that women should have outside of like abortion. I don't believe in baby killing.
Interesting. You know, that's so interesting because I was thinking about it too. And the reason why I say, how does it allow you to say it? Because my perception of what I believe feminism is different than what you believe it is. So
what's your opinion? What's your definition of me?
Well, because I just see it as like how the feminists they not all, maybe, I mean, I don't know. But the deeper agenda is out of a resentment or a hate for men, right? And I can understand that hate and resentment, right? Nobody should hate and resent. That's your own responsibility. But I can understand where it comes from is because men have dropped the ball, men have grown weak, bad fathers in the home, bad examples. But so when I see feminism, it tends to be this like this position of women trying to be not controversial, but I don't know the word I'm looking for, but they're overdoing it. So feminism has a bad taste in my mouth, but from what it sounds like you're just saying women's rights, and you have a different belief about the word feminism than I do. So I understand.
Well, let's put it in this perspective.
Okay.
Let's put it in this perspective. You know, think about like your mother when she was like coming up, having to be in the workforce. I don't know if she's still having to work or whatever, but wouldn't you want your mother to have like the greatest and best opportunities? And what if somebody was saying, oh, I don't want to give this job to her. she's a girl, she's a woman. Meanwhile, that's your mother that they're talking about.
Yeah.
How would you feel then?
Well, that's a good point. That's exactly why feminism has started in the first place. To be honest, JC, in my opinion, it's just a rebellion against the rule. But the rule was, in my opinion, shouldn't have been enforced in that way. Like, you can and can't do this. It should have been taught by example of why a woman's role isn't necessarily a pastor or a career-driven woman, and that's not her natural
But why
role.
not?
Because
But why not? And what is a woman's role? Like, what is a woman's role outside of, like, being a good mother, being a good wife, and being a good human on this earth? What are, like, woman's roles? That she has to be stuck in the kitchen making men sandwiches, being a housewife? There's nothing wrong with being a housewife.
Right.
If a lady wants to choose to do that, that's her choice. But there's nothing wrong with her being a pastor, being in politics, being the CEO of a company if
Right.
she wants to do that.
right, she should have the right to do that. You're right. She should have the right to choose what she wants to do, and she should not be told what she can or can't do. But if she was not in rebellion against being told what they can and can't do, they would realize that the actual things that bring them peace and joy are the things that are traditional, tend to be traditional. And it's not in, and this is just my opinion, but it's not in women to run a country. It's not in them to do that because they have a different set of tools and things that they've been given that they're needed. And oftentimes ladies want to have children. It's, what is the dream, the American dream for women? Women want to get married, they want to have children, right? But now this new thing
I don't think that's it.
but a lot of times, like oftentimes, most women love the idea of marriage and relationships and all these things. They're into that. But it's like, okay, well, in order to live that out, you got to understand what that means. But then now there's also this, and you can let me know what you think. Now there's also this idea of like, well, I want to be a woman and I want to be a wife and a mother, but I also want to work and all that stuff. And you can't do everything. Something's gonna slip through the cracks and cause problems.
But I think, first of all, there's many women that run countries in other countries that do very well. So we already have that example that it can be done.
Where?
I can't remember their names,
Yeah.
but even that lady that didn't want to shake Trump's hand, but he was president, that female leader, that's like one
Yeah.
example of just a lady that runs countries. But also, I want to definitely know your opinion of this. What's your opinion on like stay-at-home dads and everything? Because you were saying, women want children, they want relationships. Well, I want all of that too, and I'm not a woman, in spite of what the chat is about to be typing and stuff, how evil they are. Which, first of all, shout out to the Lions Den. We don't pretend, and the Snake Pit, they just talk. Anyways, back to the topic.
Yeah.
I think to answer your question, when you said a woman wants to be a mother, wants to be a wife, but also wants to be a career woman, and sometimes it falls through the cracks, I don't necessarily see that to be true because there's so many working moms, working wives that are mothers all the time, and it's been like that for decades, and it's not them falling through the cracks. It's helping the economy rise and everything. Now, if it's an individual falling through the cracks, they need to get their own help. But just to say in general that women cannot do that in 2024, no, sir.
Well, they're doing
the Twilight Zone.
Well, they are doing it. They are doing it. That's for sure. And I'm not saying that they're not doing it because they're clearly doing it, and it's happening. But let me ask you: is that if a woman is a wife and she's also a mother, but she's also a career woman, works a regular job, who's raising the children?
The mother and the father.
But if they're both not home, they're both out working, right? How's the child growing up with having to the morals and values, quote unquote morals and values, right, of
Because
their mother and father.
because while the parents are at work, the children are at school, and then there's still that quality time. They're still doing the right thing by sending them to have an education while they're going out to create work. Now, don't work all the time and neglect the children. When you need to have that family time and that free time, you still have to have that healthy work-life balance to be good examples, to still show you can be successful, you can still run a household, you can still be with your family. It's still a simple thing.
So basically you're saying that the child, so from the time the child can walk or whatever, I don't know, 1 or 2, and the mother is working. No, it's probably even before that, because probably like when the child hits like 8 months and the mother has to go back to work. So from 8 months until 18, right, the child is being raised by a nanny, by the school system, and then when you come home after work for 3 or 4 hours while you're there, that's the only time you're spending with the child. Is that gonna raise a solid, grounded child?
Well, first, you too rich for me to even think about a nanny. The only time I think about the nanny is that Fran Drescher show. So you too rich for my blood. But no, there's still a lot of like remorse that ladies have when they have to like leave their children and they want to like be with their children even more. However, we don't live in a world that allows them to stay at home all the time, even if they want to. We don't live in that world because people still have to pay for things. They still have to pay for that child to be successful. So it's still a sacrifice that they have to be away from their child when they want to. At least from like the personal experiences I've known, it's still a sacrifice to have to still make money to give everything you want for this child. But it's still, I think it might be a worthy sacrifice.
I understand.
What were your thoughts on the stay-at-home dads? And then I'm going to move on to the next
Well, I want to answer that. I want to get to that, and then we'll get to stay on. I just will say really quick is that that I get what you're saying, and I'm not even saying that you're wrong about it, because that is the thought that goes through everybody's mind of like, okay, how are we going to afford this lifestyle? But I think that when we put what is right first, meaning like having faith that if we want to do things, if we want the best for our child, if we want to make sure the child grows up to be, first we have to make sure that we're right? We understand we're overcoming and all that stuff, number one. But for 2, we have to be willing to sacrifice money and certain things and trust in God's way, and he'll provide all things, even if it's in a box for a little while, even if it's in sharing a car for a little while, even if it's in whatever the case is, having faith that God is going to lead you in all things. Because when we go out and try to make these things up, like, okay, well then I got to get 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs. Oh, and the mom has to work too, and grandma has to work. And we do all these things. Now we're falsely controlling our lives. And I don't think that that's and then the children end up suffering. But anyway, moving on from that, you said about the stay-at-home dads.
Yes, sir. And then I know you have to run, but I do have another topic that goes more with like your show today. But yeah,
okay.
Stay-at-home dad.
I'll go to that really quick. So the stay-at-home dads, any person, if you want to be a stay-at-home dad and you feel like that's right and you want to do that, stick with what you believe is right. My thing is that once you get to know yourself, every person, man or woman, will start to learn their natural nature and the things that they're good at and the things that they're not good at. And I feel like the natural nature of life of men and women are totally different. And men have a duty that they're good at. Men don't want to sit up here and work. That's why I say that the women wanting to be career women and stuff is a pretense, because if they really understood, men don't sit up here, want to go out there and work a 9-to-5 every day, slave all these hours. We don't actually want to do that, but we're good at it. It's natural for us. Women think that they want to do it. You know what I mean? They go out and they want to do these things, but that's not natural to want. It's not natural to to crave this desire to be a CEO and all these things. That's an unnatural thing. But if anyway, back to the point, if men knew what their true nature was and what they were really good at, and they really understood that, then they would gravitate towards that. And I don't think, in my opinion, staying at home with and raising the children is that.
Y'all crack me up with those ideologies that y'all have. Well, y'all crack me up. Like, what? Like, a woman doesn't want to do that? No. We all learn from Beyonce and all of this. She shout, a lady loves being independent. A lady loves to pay for her stuff. If anything, a woman will say, I have my money and I have your money before they say anything else.
Well, no. Fair enough, JC. Really quick, get to the last one, and then I got to get to another call.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll be really quickly. So you talk about there's some other things. Okay, what if somebody ever called you the hard R? Like, what if somebody ever called you that racial term with the hard R? How would you feel? Would you not resent them? Would you not have anger?
Sorry, say the last part again. I was distracted. If they said what?
If they ever called you that with the hard R,
would
you not have, like, resentment or anger towards them? And have you ever been called that?
Oh, like the N-word with the hard R?
Yes.
First of all, if I get offended by anything, it's my fault. It's me. I'm taking it personal. It has nothing to do with the other person. So I have to take responsibility as why am I letting somebody else control me with their words? That's number one. But number two, the other person who's saying it doesn't matter if you say hard R, the B word, the S word, doesn't matter. If you say it with malice and bad intention, then it's not respectful, right? So no matter what I don't think the N-word should be off limits. I think people got that part wrong. It's about how you use words. Because if your mother is black, right, but I don't call her the N-word because that's off limits, but I call her a B with malice, then it's just as bad. So I think it's more so about people should just be respectful to all people.
Yeah, but that would bring anger and resentment for me and everything, because you was talking about hatred, anger, and resentment.
Yeah.
I would definitely be very upset. I do disagree with you that I don't think everybody should say that word and stuff. I don't even like that word my own self as a black man.
Yeah.
Because it has so much evil connotations. But I also think there are other people outside of black people that can be that are actual hard R's. Some of those callers and chatters that I'd be listening to definitely are some hard R's. Mark. Anyway.
Well, but let me just say real quick, JC, is that like I was talking about in the show, what's happening also is that you're identifying with your stance of not saying it as right and the people who say it as wrong. So that anger or hatred is just you wanting them to suffer for how they made you feel, and you're just identifying with one side. You know what I mean? But
I definitely agreed with you on that. Like, hurt people. But
right.
If somebody has hurt me and everything, yes, there are times where I'm going to try to pray for them. But if they can meet their downfall quickly, I might root for their downfall when they hurt me, when they put me through some stress and trauma and made me sad. Yeah, I might root for their downfall a little bit more. Maybe that makes me a hateful person or whatever. But also, it feels good when somebody who has hurt me gets their comeuppance.
Well, they didn't
get their karma thing.
They didn't hurt you. It had nothing to do with it. It had everything to do with you. Your belief into that is what hurt you, not them. Nobody can hurt anybody. But we're gonna have to get more into the JC because I'm so out of time. So call me again maybe tomorrow, and we'll get into it.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I enjoy talking to you about it too.
Yes, sir. Good show tonight. Bye-bye.
Thank you, man. Bye. Oh, man. I'm so out of time. Floor and Floor. I'm sorry, Floor. I can't get you. I'm so out of time here. I got to end. Man, that just flew by today. I hope that all made sense. Just live life. Just live your life. And just learn, live and learn, and that's it. Keep your eyes on yourself. Stop try to control life. Stop trying to control life. Just live and just watch. And if you have a pain or a feeling and we don't know what it means, just watch it. Do your best to just watch it. You know? All right, y'all. I'm back here tomorrow. We'll get into some more mess. Until next time, y'all. American Anchor Baby's coming in. You don't want to miss this show. Joel Friday TV across the board. I gotta go. Bye.